privilege of seeing the Boston premiere of Daciel Kim Gibson's newest documentary film. And I will introduce you to that film in just a moment, but first I'd like to introduce you briefly to Dr. Kim. Dr. Kim Gibson. Daciel Kim Gibson is a woman on a journey. In 1945, she and her family walked across the 38th parallel. She was born in North Korea, and she traveled with her family to South Korea seeking democracy. She's been troubled over these years at some of the ways that North Korea is portrayed. So in this documentary, she has the opportunity to bring the people of North Korea to us. And we're very grateful to you, Daciel, for that gift. Daciel Kim Gibson arrived in Boston University in 1962. She completed a doctoral program here, a PhD in the graduate division, and her journey in Boston and in the United States was one of continual reflection on her own life as a diasporic person and on human nature. She even wrote her dissertation on the doctrine of man in Irenaeus of Lyon. Not only did she complete her PhD studies here in Boston, but she also was married here in the home of Dr. Walter Mulder, who was at that time dean and who was the president or the presider in her service of marriage with her lifelong companion and husband, Dan. And also, the music was provided by Martha Mulder. So her roots go very deep in Boston and in Boston University. Most of her adult life has been spent in this country, though she did sojourn briefly in Korea. She was very frustrated at that time, according to her own telling of the story, living in a militaristic regime, and so she returned to the United States. She taught at Mount Holyoke for a number of years in theology, and she later discovered this wonderful gift of writing and filmmaking. So she's become quite a famous documentary filmmaker, and I'm going to read you some of the titles of her work, which give you some idea of the kind of work she does. She is determined to bring the voices of the voiceless to the screen. She is determined to represent ordinary people and people who are often overlooked. And so she has attempted through her films to humanize the world. Some of her films include America Becoming a Forgotten People. America Becoming a Forgotten People, the Sakham Koreans. Wet Sand, Voices from LA. Silence Broken. Korean Comfort Women. And Motherland, Cuba, Korea, USA. Many of these films are very well known. Her film, The Silence Broken, Korean Comfort Women, was one that received an enormous amount of attention because it was one of the first public revelations of the horrors of the Korean comfort women. In the latest film, she continues this pattern of trying to uncover devastating human realities and also the beauty and power of human lives. So in her latest film, which we will view now, she goes to North Korea. The title of the film, People Are the Sky, A Journey to North Korea. With this film, she awakens the world to a rich, unseen people, precious people of North Korea. Let us view it now. Our discussion will follow.
My name is Dashi Kim Gibson. I'm a Korean-American filmmaker. I do a few other things too. I enjoy putting my memories on canvas. I was born in North Korea. I've lived in America for half a century as a naturalized citizen, married to an Iowa farm boy turned historian. Dan grew up on Iowa soil, and I in a North Korean town. But we both loved the sky. On a cold winter morning in 2009, I lost Dan, my soulmate, my home. Until the day he died, Dan remained a man of the sky that embraces all people everywhere. Alone in America, I ask, where is my home now? Could it be the place of my birth, North Korea? I wanted to understand why I left home in the first place. I talked to Dr. Charles Armstrong, a professor of history at Columbia University who was born in South Korea but grew up in America. Now married to a Korean Canadian with two lovely daughters, he is a happy family man, as well as one of the best-known North Korean experts in America.
Growing up in the US, if you saw images of North Koreans at all, it was very negative. And it got me thinking about how is it that Korea became divided? Why is there a place called South Korea and a place called North Korea that don't have any interaction with each other? How did that happen? The division of Korea was an American idea at the end of World War II to deal with the surrender of Japan. Japan had lost the war, and Korea was a colony of Japan. So the Japanese were going to have to leave Korea, but the question is, what would happen to Korea afterward? No Koreans were consulted. The Americans felt the Korean people were not advanced enough, okay, you might say, not civilized enough to really run their own country without outsiders to help them. But the Russians were going to obviously come in. They were right there on the border with North Korea. And the Americans did not want Russia to take over all of Korea because it was clear, even at the end of World War II, that the Soviet Union was going to be an adversary of the US after the war. So the American proposal was to divide Korea into a North and South occupation zone. And this would be a temporary joint occupation leading towards some sort of solution for an independent Korea.
The division is still on. At age 75, I decided you must be sick of my face.
Dr. Kim Gibson, the best response to the film is silence. So let's take a moment of silence before we use words. We have invited Bishop Hee-Soo Jong to respond to the film and enter a dialogue with Dr. Daeshil Kim Gibson. And I'll say just a few words of introduction. Dr. Professor Bishop Hee-Soo Jong is a native of Hwanghwa-do, Korea. He is also a person who has journeyed widely. He studied in 2 Korean universities. He has taught theology and philosophy of religion in Korea and in the United States. He did his PhD at the University of Wisconsin in Madison. He has served churches in California, Texas, and Wisconsin. He has been bishop now for approximately 12 years, serving first in the Chicago area in the United Methodist Church and now in Wisconsin. Bishop Hee-Soo Jung is known as a peacemaker, a justice builder, a friend and partner to people who care about the well-being of human lives. So he's an apt person to respond today to Daeshil Kim Gibson, who is herself a humanizer of the world. He is going to speak briefly, and then she is going to respond to his opening dialogue, and then we're going to open it to all of you to join in. But I want to say a great thanks to Bishop Hee-Soo Jung, and a great thanks and a spirit of awe to Daeshil Kim Gibson. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Wow, it was breathtaking. So provoking.
Now they are saying good thing.
Okay. My voice is loud, so but it's my honor to be here, and thank you, Dr. Moore, and all of you. What a risk-taking journey that she's been through her film work. I know that I spoke briefly with Ted Chung, which is a young Korean-American filmmaker who is professor in film school in Los Angeles. And he say he's been known the Daeshil as a student, and then in the Asian American class, always viewed Saigu and also forgotten, people's story as a very classic in the classroom in all the United States. She made it such a marvelous impact through her film work to be a voice for voiceless, prophetic imagination being her journey through her work from earlier time. I read it some, but I really realized how powerful her journey been through this whole remarkable work. So I felt that maybe I might call her as a pastor for the forgotten people, the pastor for that such a uncounted voices in the world that I felt. I just came back actually 2 days ago from first visit to Pyongyang and North Korea, many places like Kaesong and Gyeongsan, and many speakers in that film that I personally know, like Kang Jung-gu is my classmate in University of Wisconsin-Madison, and Dong Chun-Kim was my church member when I was in Korea in 79 and 80 and 81, which was a dictatorship and then all counterism. So many familiar voices. Of course, some even North Korean scholar folks I met this trip. So the film become it's such a familiar into my heart throughout the hour. I've been working with the reconciliation and peace journey as a Christian leaders, but I was not able to go to North Korea because my mother was the one who really not wish my life journey, because she lost two brothers in Korean War. And I born in demilitarized zone area in Hanwha, is right there, so only 30 minutes to north. And when very clear day, I say, Yahoo in the mountain, and the other side of friends say, Yahoo back. So that closed, but we were so much indoctrinated by family and lots of post-traumatic life we lived it. So even though I liberated it, I journeyed, I supported it in this whole just peace journey. First step to go to North Korea was a real pilgrimage to me. Last year, my mother passed away, so I went to the 1-year anniversary before go to Pyongyang. I told her, Mother, I'm heading to North. Would you bless me? Probably she did. So that journey that I've been through, so this film really touched in my heart in many ways. I know that Dr. Dasher Kim Gibson been touched in many people's life through her film work. In theological way, I feel that like Levinas or Derrida, that deconstructionalist who've been focusing on risk-taking and absolute acceptance of others, the otherness. And seems like that's the silent voice in all of the world, especially the Korean American and Korean Peninsula related. But I really need to say that her really deeply engaging with the deep consciousness about home that she talked about, that become the narrative, the powerful narrative to, I think, whole humanity. I think you and me, even as a viewer of this film, we can identify what that means to home. I never met Dr. Gibson, but this whole film is also her personal journey and personal story. I know that before going to this project, she interviewed by Film Quarterly in 2011. She said the interviewer was asked her, what would you like to do in the future? And she said, I'm going to do this film. But it was denied. So film denied it. That was probably her title, but congratulations, you did it as a whole after that year. So I was so touched by when she was 73, that was the time she interviewed it. She said, last thing I want to do with this film. And tonight, you and I viewed it together. Well, let me just briefly share my experience in Pyongyang and all places. The people were beautiful. Entrance to the new country, this whole, the immigration, the whole, the process is always dehumanizing, right? When you come to US, you need to take it off shoes and everything, right? And when I went into the Pyongyang, first impression was just like my brother. Of course, he has a uniform and could be cold looking, but he said, "Oh, welcome." And then another way he said, "혼자 오셨습니까? You came alone? Where's your wife?" And then say, "Next time, please come with your wife and your children." See, totally the breakthrough entrance event. Of course, I was WCC, World Council of Church delegation with other 12 different country representatives as a church leaders. We were warmly welcomed and we've been through the many places she's been in, and we had a little more freedom to, the interview or visit or street walking and even free time at the Pyongyang city, even though our hotel was in island in Yanggakdo. Not much, the morning jogging I did it, jogging, but not much interaction I could do. But the few, like who are fishing there and walking, and those who are there. But the most people I met, it is true that people are the sky. In Chen, which is Korean people know that the people are sky. That's the Donghak teaching, the Chejeu's teaching, which is also come down a sense of Juche, like the North Korean people's revolutionary mind, self-reliance, self-governing, self-building, that whole journey. So people were sky. I think that was deeply touched in me. Many powerful personal conversation with the friends there. I cannot process well there. And then so much genuine thing that I saw, food and all different the color and people's custom and ritual were very genuinely the Korean, of course. I can say that because I am much Americanized it. I am well westernized it. So I see that kind of old-fashioned, traditional fashion, but it's such a genuineness within their life. And I also sense that lots of in between, even to control the society, but there's a much space that they are asking me to question. One of the translators, Yun Mi, that she's 28 years old, only 4 years old daughter she has, she's very intelligent. When we sit together all the way to Kaesong, she asked me about America. She asked me about what is life like. And of course I talked about, and she talked about even our gay right issue, civil right issue, and all different things. So I felt there's in between that I hope that we can really value that. Of course, there are lots of mystical, that kind of hidden place, probably, because I've been, just short time, only 7 days there. I felt it is amazing that people are open and pursuing into the future in their own terms.
Well,
I yes.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Well, I think we should invite people in
Sure.
the audience to talk, and I don't want to talk because you saw me talking for 94 minutes. So I don't want to say, right? So
That's
if you
her.
have questions,
Yes.
please, yeah.
That's her. So she really wants you to speak and engage in this.
So we're open to any comments or questions that you would like to address. And please go to the microphone.
Microphone, go to
And
microphone.
if you please go to the microphone, then it'll be picked up on the video.
Hi, I'm Min Chang Lee, second year MDiv student here at USDH. Thank you for sharing this wonderful movie, and I've learned a lot through your journey. And this reminds me, I think my grandfather, who came from North Korea, his hometown is Hamgyongdo, but he is suffering with dementia right now. So I wish I had spend more time with him to listen to his personal story, something like that. And I guess the history here is not just history, it's your life, right? And as you can see me, I'm pretty young, and I was born in late 80s, and I've never experienced war. And even my parents, they didn't experience war. So all I know about history, about my country, is from my class, in history class in my school. But I don't know whether you heard about what's going on in Korea right now. The government tried to make a government designated textbook, history book. So it means they try to make one history book. So this is true. So you guys learn, if you know this is Korea. This is what we experience, something like that. I felt so bad about that, and I don't know. The reason why you make that film is to show your perspective, how you understand Korea, how you understand how different people understand Korea history differently. So that's why I respect you, and I'm really happy to listen your voice and your perspective about my and your history, and also my history. So I'm wondering how you feel about like the situation going on in my country, the government.
In your country, South Korea, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
South Korea.
Well, you said it was I'm telling my story, and I am telling my story in this film because I think it probably is going to be my last documentary, and I did something that I've never done before in my all other films, and that is I stuck my neck into it, and I participated. I searched for things with people, so I was part of the movie. And making it personal made a lot of sense because there are a lot of views going on about North Korea, especially bad, demonized views. So well done by mainstream media of the Western world. So they know North Korea, okay, those three monsters, and South Koreans are rich, North Koreans are poor, they die by the hundreds every day. Their views are really very, very bad. So I wanted to tell about North Korea in two different ways. One, when people talk about North Korea, they always talk about current situation, three monster leaders, and the human rights violation as the world's worst. I don't know where they get that idea, but that's what they usually say, and they never introduce beyond that. So, as a trained scholar before, I'm a fallen away academic and I'm a fallen away Christian, so I'm fallen everywhere. But nonetheless, I wanted to tell the story in sort of scholarly way that I was trained for, and that is put North Korea in relation to South Korea and the Allied forces, especially USA. If you don't do that, then you really do not have an understanding about the Korean Peninsula and its division. So one of the characteristics of my film, I would say, is I tell the story of North Korea in relation to South America and other Western world in the political and historical context. I go all the way. There's no way what is going on in North Korea, in South Korea, if you do not go back, at least as far back as Japanese imperialism. And as it happens, I'm old enough to know a little bit of Japanese colonialism, division of the country, crossing the 38th parallel, living in South Korea, and then living in America, married to an American. And I introduced Don in this film because actually Don put an idea of what is home, where is home, as not place, but as a person. Because when I started living in America, I did not feel at home in America as a country. I felt very left and I felt very lonely. This country did not make me feel at home. But I felt right at home with this American, a person. So from that, I started thinking, okay, home is not a place, be it America, North Korea, South Korea, Europe, but home is a person. That idea got into my head. So when Don died, my home was gone. So it was at that point that I thought I'd go back and see if I can explore my place of birth, which is a traditional notion of where home is, to be my home. So that's the theme of what is home, where is home, is one theme of my film, and then telling the story of North, South Korea, USA in the historical and political context. I've not shown this film many places, but one thing that gratifies me is every time when people see whether it is raw footage or finished film, they all say, oh my, I had no idea. You think Americans, intellectuals, artists, PhDs, they know this history. They don't. Believe me, they don't. So I want to put those people in the context so they would start to understand not just what they see and what they are told to, but go back. Because you can't define anything complete without knowing past, present, and future all together. That was my speech, right? So, I don't know whether I answered your question.
Thank you for answering that. But my question was about the government in South Korea is trying to make government designate textbook. So they try to fix history this is true. So like.
Okay, I understand what you're saying, but you know what? It's a bit, I am going to tread on dangerous territory because I actually do not like South Korea.
Okay.
When I go to Incheon International Airport, when I go to North Korea, I have to go to Incheon International Airport first and spend almost a night to catch a flight to China, and then it's only from Chinese city that I get on board your flight to North Korea. So when I go to Incheon, all I smell is money. I feel revolting. I just don't, so I think South Korea, there are so many brilliant things that are happening. Each South Koreans, they worked hard, they made their country so thriving and flourishing. But in terms of their real thoughts, real ideas, real examination, where they should be going in this 20th, 21st century, I think they are all screwed up, many of them. So I think they need to think a little more closely, and they spend so much time on doing things, and your question relates when people say North Korea is the worst violated human rights country. But that's why I told the story of Park Chung-hee. What Park Chung-hee did and what Park Chung-hee drove me out of the country to come back to America and live here for half a century. That is that human rights violation any better than North Koreans? And is anything happening in the USA in terms of human rights violation? Built on the slaves' back and massacre of native Indians and all of it. So there are so many things that are said about this little country that's unfair. So all I would ask you is, don't buy what I say if you don't like it, but empty your hearts, get rid of the assumption, and try to learn something new and evaluate.
Thank you.
This is a very important dialogue, and I suggest that we hear from 2 or 3 people now, if you have brief comments or questions, and then we'll invite Dr. Kim Gibson again to speak. Yes, please.
Hi, I'm Wee Chang, United Methodist pastor here in Belmont, and thank you very much. I was also blessed to be in North Korea for 8 days in August over 70th anniversary of liberation, 1945. So I have 2 questions. One is, we were not there to make films, but we were surprised that we were allowed to make as many pictures as we can. So my cell phone had about 800 pictures, and then our group's official photographer had about over 3,000 pictures and images. And it was, 8 days full of surprises, discovery, I think first time knowing and seeing and experiencing what you only were told to image or perceive. But as I come back and I did some of the reports and PowerPoints and look at images, as much as I appreciate the images and memories that I was able to capture in images, or in your case, film, there are much, sense of, deep feelings and mixed feelings that no picture could take. So my question is that after you viewing your films, what are some of the emotions, discoveries, hopes, frustrations that you somehow couldn't capture? The second question is,
Oh, but let's wait a second,
Okay.
because I'm getting old, I keep forgetting. So, the first was, just to make a question very briefly, say that again, don't make a speech, just ask a question.
oh, so
What were the things that I wanted to do more in North Korea? Is that your question?
no, my question is after the finishing of the film, as you watch it yourself, are there any feelings or emotions, anything that you felt that you couldn't capture it, even with your films, that you couldn't really transport it? In other words, unless people go there and experience it, this is something that really there are no other means for people to know or experience.
Even if you go there, you don't know everything. If you make a film, one film, you have to be realistic. You don't put everything in one film. You do your best. And I was looking at my own film. I thought it was damn good. Didn't you?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, you cannot do everything in one film. And what I really wanted, little more than I could, was to see more inside lives of North Koreans, inside of the houses. They didn't take me inside of the houses, okay? So I had to live with that. And that textile couple, they were chosen by the government. And I was taken there. With that, even with that knowledge, I was glad to meet those two young couple, because even if they chose, there was humanity between those two young people, very much in love, and working at the same place at textile. Husband is very proud of wife, and the wife works very hard. They build life together. And that gave me very, very warm human feeling. I don't care if government chose that thing. But I would have liked to visit many more families, not just in Pyongyang, but in the countryside. And what little that you thought, oh, we saw all of those. If you take that granted, I think you're wrong, because I got some of the things, because it was me. I disobeyed guys. You saw me fighting with the guys. When she says go to the left, I always went to the right. And when I was making this film, I really understood the importance of what I phrased, creative disobedience. That's what I did, from morning till night, 14 hours a day. And so some of the little snippets here and there that you think, oh, we saw it, you didn't see it. I showed it to you. So I think this film, in the limited situation, as far as I could do, I think I put everything I could in one film. I don't think I can make, second film because I'm old and probably all that. But you don't try to do everything that's in your head and heart and soul in one work. You just do something with a focus, and that's what this film is. What is your second question?
I will not ask second question because I just want to make a comment. I think that was not the intention of my comment. Was not about whether we could capture all of it. I just wanted to make one comment about the importance of visiting, going and seeing. And I want to invite you, one of the great privileges of being an American citizen is that you can go and visit North Korea. They will welcome you. There is a process that you can do. There was the only reason why I could go. My other Korean clergies who are not yet American citizens couldn't go. So this August, I've been a citizen for about 8 years. And I truly appreciate that I became American citizen because that allowed me to go. So you have all that privileges that you can go and experience on yourself. And so that's what I wanted to say.
Okay, let's have more questions from some others. Ask him some questions. Yeah.
Yes, and so that we can hear from 2 or 3 of you, if we could keep them really short, then we can
Yes, I'll make this quick. My name is Ramsey Lee, and I'm at Boston College. Thank you very much, Daisho. I think it's a wonderful film. And you covered more than I would have imagined you could possibly cover in a film like this. I just want to say that I think the period from 1945 to 1950 was so incredibly important to include in the film. Because it's, I mean, most Americans, as you say, don't know very much about Korea or the history, but those 5 years are totally erased from the U.S. historical record. In that regard, I'm wondering if you've gotten any pushback from people who might disagree with the way you represented that history. It's a very difficult time right now, and we know that Park Chung-hee's daughter is now currently the president of South Korea. And so I'm just wondering if you have had some interesting conversations with.
I did not have direct conversation who head-on disagreed, but I had a very clear response to this film. You know, when I make film, when I bring out a new one, even before they see my film, Busan International Film Festival always invited me with airfare and hotel fees. So one time, they gave me big hotel, and 6 South Korean young filmmakers came, and they had no place to sleep. So I had them sleep in my floor. So there were 7 or 8 of us sleep. That was the way Busan International Film Festival was to me. This one, they rejected. And I know why they rejected. You know why, right? Park Geun-hye is in firm control of everything going on. And I was told that she was really in firm control of Busan. And of course it was rejected. So when I was rejected, I was angry and I was distressed. But part of me was, okay, I made a film that you did not want to make. So I'm glad. That's the kind of encounter I had with people go. And the other thing, as I said very briefly, was this history that I put in, that comes from my fallen away academic background. You just have to let them know in historical, political context. So most educated American intellectuals, many of them did not have any idea what their country did in the past. So they are starting to relate what they did in 1945, 50, 53, and all those years to what is going on in the Middle East, you know? So that was, I mean, I wanted to deal with it, and I interviewed people, talked about it. I couldn't put that in. But I think this film makes people talk and makes people want to learn.
Thank you. One more?
Hi, my name is Christine Loken Kim, and I lived in Korea in the 1970s and saw lots of Hangong on the elementary schools, everything against communism. So I totally appreciate your film, and I didn't know many things like you are saying, so I appreciated to watch and learn about what we did there. But you said they gave you a cameraman, so it was a North Korean cameraman. So I was wondering if, about the film itself. Did they look at all the film before they gave it to you? Did they take some of it out, or, you know, about that aspect of your making?
You know, when they gave me North Korean cameraman, at first I was sort of confused. What should I do with that person? But you know, they were superb cameraman. And I cannot say this one he shot, that one he shot, but I used lots of the things that they shot, you know? So I was very, very glad that they gave me North Korean camera. We got along famously, really well. And when I was exiting, coming home, my guides and cameramen, everybody came to say goodbye to me. They did not ask to look at it. Everything North Korean shot, he made in a neat package and gave it to me, and nobody opened my thing. Nobody censored anything. And when I came home, you know, some of those people in North Korea, they liked me, so they made a collection of archival footage and sent it to me. And so you think, oh, I see all of this footage that everybody sees. Well, that's wrong. There are a lot of footage that you would have never seen in any other thing, because many of these historical footage that people take, they usually take from National Archives because it's in public domain, it's cheaper, so we see same footage over and over again. But especially for North Korean building and all of that, they collected from their archival place and sent it to me. So they helped me, but they did not say anything, use this or use that. I had total freedom not to use any of it, but I used a lot because it was very good and unusual footage. So the archival footage you saw, you know, I searched not just the National Archives, all over the world, including North Korea.
Jill, would you like to say do you have a last comment you would like to add before we close?
My last comment?
Yes, unfortunately we have to close the big discussion. We'll have a reception outside, so the informal discussion can continue, but would you like to make a last comment before?
Okay, go tell your friends, especially who have big churches, tell them to collect money for me. And tell all the academic people to go to their place and organize a screening, because it's very tiring. I no longer want to do it all that much, but the best way is to bring my own film and do Q&A. I was at Michigan State University, which is 60,000 people. I mean, their faculty and students, they had to extend their room to make it big. And one class is now writing an essay to evaluate my film, you know, and the teacher is sending them to me. So please tell your friends, grandmothers, cousins and uncles about this film, and spread it so that I can show it, because what good is it if I just make it and not show it? So that's the last thing. Go work for me. Thank you.
I think you had something you wanted to say.
Well, I really started working with you for that fundraising. I need to do.
You should go collect money.
But I need to say thank you for your personal journey. I know that Himdaeshil Sundae, I need to say it because
Sunday, you know.
yes, that's a big thing, and I need to say how much that you are impacting people's lives, especially in this matter about America, how that rolled into this whole division and current situation. And I greatly appreciate. And Dr. Lim's comment about the Habang Gongan, which is 45 to 50, that is such a crucial point in our historical learning. And you captured it. And the beautiful life, I hope that you will do another project.
Well, I'm too old and no money. But if you collect, you know, in a big hat, every time when I go to LA, I go to this huge church where about 2,000 people come and they pass this huge hat collecting money. I always wanted to steal one of them.